Joining us now is Dan Bruskewicz of TJ Kong and the Atomic Bomb. They will be performing this Thursday, October 26th at Atwood's Tavern in Cambridge. It will be the first of several dates celebrating the release of a new album, Dancing Out the Door. Tickets are available at atwoodstavern.com. Dan, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Hey, thank you, Sam. It's good to be on.
Tell me about the making of the new record. Where was it recorded?
We recorded this at a magical place called Kawari Sound Studios, and it's just outside of Philadelphia in a little place called Wyncote, PA. This place has a wonderful array of old equipment. The tape machine that they use is warm and beautiful, and the people who run the place are just like gifts from another land.
Did you produce the album yourself, or did you work with a producer?
No, we worked with Bill Moriarty, who's a friend of ours who's been working in Philly for years and years, producing a number of records. He did a couple of Man's early records, a couple of Dr. Dog's early records. Our good friend Ron Gallo, who introduced him to us, he did some stuff for Ron. And we worked with him on our last EP and had such a good time that we wanted to do a full length with him. And so we brought him on and basically made his life a living hell for 2 days trying to record a full length record completely live. And he was more than up to the challenge.
So it was recorded in only 2 days.
Well, so we recorded the nuts and bolts of it in 2 days. The whole band in a room at Kawari playing live. And I did a lot of singing live, and it was something we wanted to do to make the songs really vibrant and sort of lively and with a seat of your pants sort of feel. And so we sort of challenged ourselves to do everything. We had 15 songs. I think only 12 or so made it on the record, but we wanted to do everything in 2 days. And we did that, and then we added some bits and pieces like horns and a few overdubs afterwards. But yeah, the nuts and bolts of it are 2 days, one room, 4 sweaty men.
Yeah, when I listen to the band, it definitely makes sense to try to capture the live sound in the studio rather than recording track by track.
Well, I'm glad that came through. I'm glad to hear that.
When I listen to the new album, I hear Tom Waits, Captain Beefheart, other country influences like Mike Nesmith. How would you describe the sound of the band for somebody who's never heard you before?
Well, I think you're hitting it right on the head. We like to say that it's like Captain Beefheart at a Nightmare Rodeo sort of thing. There is a little bit of country influence in like you're hearing. We like to add a little bit of the Americana sound, but yeah, Captain Beefheart, Tom Waits. I really like a big influence on me is Lightning Hopkins and his really dark, bluesy songs and just view on life in general. We like to sort of put darkness up against sort of punk rock party time rhythm section and some Americana instrumentation and just sort of feel what happens.
You guys are from Philadelphia. Tell me about how the band was originally formed.
So there are 4 men in the band and 2 names. So just to bring that out before I confuse everyone, there's Dan, Josh, and Josh. So it's very easy to remember. But Dan and I, so I'm also Dan, but drummer Dan and I met while we were working in a bar. And he had been drumming for punk bands in Philly, and his house was a venue at the time. And I had been working on, these sort of dark, folky, me all alone in a room kind of songs, and sort of itching to work with other people on ideas. And one day we just sort of had nothing to do. And that happened to be on an Easter Sunday. And I guess we just we didn't make any plans with family or whatever that day. So I don't think either of us even realized it was Easter, but we were free that day. So we said, let's hang out and try some things. And we hung out at his house all day and ran through songs. And it was just one of those sort of magic collaborative moments where things clicked really easy. And both of us were like, wow, this is very interesting and new. And the energy behind what he was bringing to the table was new to me. And the like sort of dark folky stuff that I was playing was super new to him, and it all really like went together really easily.
Where does the name TJ Kong and the Atomic Bomb come from?
So that's from one of our favorite movies that the band shares. It's from a movie called Dr. Strangelove, and there's the iconic scene at the end, I'm sure you know of, where Lieutenant TJ Kong rides the bomb, and sort of this really cool like summing up of the fatalism and all of the different elements that are sort of like conspiring against each other in a comic way in that movie. All comes together in that like really great scene. And so we thought, what a great image for what we're cooking up in the band. And so we just went with it.
It's very clever.
Oh, thank you.
How long have you been writing songs for?
I would say about 10 years.
Are you the primary songwriter in the band?
Yes. How it normally works is I'll come up with a tune in my like, you know, dark, angry bedroom after sitting with it and stewing for however long. And then I'll bring it out into the sunlight and walk over to the rehearsal space, and we'll just sort of hammer out what it actually sounds like. And then it becomes sort of this new thing after going through the filter of everybody in the band, and it becomes a TJ Kong tune.
What is the main guitar that you use on stage? It looks to me like a full hollow body guitar.
It is, yeah. Actually, it's a vintage German hollow body electric guitar. The name of the make is escaping me, but basically it's a sort of knockoff brand to a Hohner guitar, which was like an expensive German guitar, and is still like they still make, you know, expensive instrumentation from Germany, and this guitar was more or less like the next rung down back in the 50s for a German hollow body parlor guitar, and it's just really well made. At the time, it wasn't like thought to be an amazing, you know, piece of craftsmanship, but it was, you know, handmade, which at the time most guitars were, and it is so tough and sounds so good. It's just like the perfect guitar. I can bring it on the road and treat it bad sometimes, and it doesn't mind, and it's nice. I've had two like old hollow bodies over the course of this band. The first one was an Orpheum King, big orange, like jumbo Orpheum King hollow body guitar that I played for years and just kind of wore it out. It was from the 40s and sounded really nasty and was just a beautiful guitar. And I rode with it many miles, but over the years, just like a little too much wear and tear on its old body, and it kind of caved in on me. And so I got this German guitar, and it's been like such an easy transition. Sometimes I feel like when you go from one main guitar to another, it can be like you're lost in the desert for a while, searching for truth. You don't know what life is anymore without your old, you know, standby. But this, like the transition from one to the other has been so seamless. It's great.
Where did you purchase it?
I actually found it online. I was like doing extensive research and looking through a few makes and models, and I came upon this German make, and I found this guy, and I purchased it online.
Tell me about coming up in Philadelphia. How would you describe the music scene there right now?
I would describe it as like the most amazing music scene in the country. In the past, I'd say 10 years or so, it's really just exploded. Traveling around and visiting other cities, you really get a sense for their music scene, just sort of hanging around for a few days, talking to people, playing a club. And there are so many great music scenes like going on right now. Obviously, New Orleans is legendary, Chicago, New York, LA. But of all the places we've been, I can't say that anyone really compares to Philly right now. Philly has such a wide variety of up-and-coming music acts that are like really hitting the edge of like world-renowned status and sort of like starting all these new trends. And just the number of musicians in town is pretty substantial in a way that I've never seen it in my 15 years of living in town. It's also like very warm and sort of family oriented. Like a lot of times, you know, you hear about scenes where musicians are sort of, you know, not rivals or feuding with each other, but they don't help each other out. It's not like a family oriented type of scene, but Philly is such sort of like a small town. Even though it's a large city, it has like a small town feel, and everybody knows everybody, and it's very neighborhood centric. So you walk around and you see everyone in your neighborhood every day. And Philly's music scene really like has the vibe of a family. And that's, I think, what makes it so great. There are so many amazing bands in Philly right now, but everyone still treats each other like family.
Are there any bands that you'd like to give a special shout out for us to check out?
Oh my goodness, so many. Where do I start? Well, there's an amazing band called Grubby Little Hands, who are good friends of ours. They released their new record about a year and a half ago on the same label that we put our new record out on. The label's called Good Behavior Records, and they put out all of Grubby Little Hands' stuff. They're an amazing electro indie band that like pushes all sorts of genre boundaries, and they're just like amazing dudes. Some other maybe like bands that you guys haven't heard of. West Philly Orchestra, of course, is an amazing local band. They're like legends in Philly. They do Balkan brass ensemble, like really dance around, sweaty, drinking and picking people up and putting them on your shoulders and running around a room type of brass. It's amazing. There's also Martha Graham Cracker, who's an amazing artist. She is probably the best performer I've seen live as far as live performance goes. She sings a combination of covers and like some originals, and really like the experience of seeing her is never the same. Like between shows, you'll never get the same show twice, and her band is amazing. Who else? Hard Work Movement is a hip hop group that's coming up now, and they're going to be big like any day. They do, I think they have like 6 or 7 pieces in their band. It's sort of like a live hip hop experience, sort of like a new version of the Roots, where you get like so many pieces to the band, and it's all amazingly tight, and the band has so much energy. Those shows are becoming legendary. Low Cut Connie's blowing up. They're an amazing band. They're going to be like the biggest band in the world soon. I imagine they're going to be like the White Stripes of the world any day now. They're already huge, thanks to our great president, Barack Obama. And they're an amazing band. There's so many. Levy Drivers, of course, are good pals. The Lawsuits, the Districts, they're already blowing up as well. There's just so many.
Yeah, I know. Must be tough. I know you don't want to leave anybody out.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not just that. It's just that there are so many that I love to listen to on a daily basis. And not even mentioning, like, the huge like, pop-punk revival that basically started in Philly with Modern Baseball and all of those bands that are blowing up. There's just so many different styles of music that are all coming into the mainstream from Philly. It's hard to like pin down, you know what I mean? Like a number, like a handful of bands. But yeah, I would say just Google Philly music scene and listen to whatever comes up. There's a great website called The Key, which XPN, the radio station in town, puts out, and they do a great job of covering the local scene.
What are some of your favorite venues in Philadelphia to play?
Well, the best one is Johnny Brenda's. That's like my favorite venue on the entire East Coast. I think it's the best music venue by far. It's just the perfect room. It's a very dynamic room. There's a lower level where the stage is, and then there's an upper level that sort of wraps around with a balcony. And then there's a bar area where you can just sort of chill, sit at the bar and watch the bands play. And have a great sound experience. There's all sorts of different like experiences within this, 200 person intimate venue. It's the perfect place. And that place is sort of legendary. They put on and continue to put on some of the best under the radar music acts in the whole world. Their programming is amazing. But other than that, I would say Union Transfer is great. They came up about 4 or 5 years ago, I guess now, and they're like a larger version of Johnny Brenda's. They put on really good programming, and it's like a 1,200 person room, so it's a little bit larger, but they put a lot of love and care into the sound and design of the room, and they continue to do that with the bands and acts that they book there. So it's like, you get a feel of love when you go in there and watch a show.
What advice would you have for somebody who wants to come up in Philadelphia right now?
I would say get to know everybody in town, go out. That's like my favorite advice to give. A lot of times it can be easy to sort of stay at home and create, and it's an addiction that those of us who create have. We like to tinker, sort of like mad scientists, and a lot of times that leads to maybe not going out as much. But the best thing about Philly is that the scene it's really big, but the people in the scene, it's like a family. So if you go out and you start to meet everybody, pretty much within 2 months, you'll have this like great knowledge of the entire town and everybody who works and does amazing work here. So my advice would be to go to shows, get to know people, and then just collaborate. Like, people in Philly are really like not uptight about collaborating and trying things out. It's the kind of place where you can live a little cheaper, and so take a little time to do projects that might not be, your main project, but they can be just fun, and a lot of people are into collaborating.
The new record is called Dancing Out the Door. Again, TJ Kong and the Atomic Bomb will be performing this Thursday, October 26th at Atwood's Tavern. Dan, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with me today, and good luck with the tour.
Hey, thank you, man. This is a real pleasure.